Many of our healthcare customers that we have talked to over the past few years have suffered from a common problem. And that problem is just the speed of change in healthcare, especially around technology deployment. Because of changing requirements on network infrastructure. The network is obviously the common piece of technology to most of the technology deployments in the hospital, and they're typically quite static. What we knew of technology requirements when those networks were designed is not necessarily true today. There's new devices, there's new types of applications deployed on those networks, and we have to adapt to them. So two examples that I can think of this, for one example, with a customer we spoke to had deployed a medical imaging system, but it was deployed by a third party as a managed service. It consisted of a number of components, so modalities, so things producing actual medical images, archiving servers, diagnostic workstations, and a number of different elements, including back-end infrastructure. And they needed to be self-contained, yet communicate across the hospital's estate. So that posed a challenge, like how do we virtualize a network service and deploy it? And the biggest problem for that customer was just how long that whole project was going to take to plan, deploy, and then maintain that network. A second example of this, perhaps affecting more of our community healthcare customers with lots of buildings and spread out over a large geographical area, was they had many different components of building management. So card access control systems, heating and ventilation, and other things relating to the management of the actual building infrastructure. And again, managed by a third party, needing to share the same network infrastructure as the hospital used, but needing to be isolated. And again, it was the same problem. It was lengthy timescales to design and deploy and then manage those network services. So the solution for these customers has been to use Extreme's fabric technology, which essentially allows us to create a flexible network infrastructure that can adapt to changing requirements and overlay virtualized network services over the fabric and deploy them very quickly. If we think of cloud scale data centers, where they have many tenants and the virtualized servers can be spun up, services can be spun up in minutes, and they all communicate seamlessly. The network flexibly stretches and adapts to that service. We take that same concept and we have that with Extreme's fabric technology end-to-end across the network infrastructure of any of our hospitals. So if we have a changing requirement, like the building management system or like the medical imaging system, we can very quickly, in minutes rather than days, deploy that network service virtually across the entire estate. The major benefit for the customer there is speed to deployment, and the flexibility of the architecture to adapt to constantly changing and rapidly changing requirements. A common pitfall, common trap for a lot of customers is to get very focused on the requirements they have today and design an infrastructure around that. And unfortunately, that doesn't allow them to flex and scale with the changing requirements over the life of that investment. And having a flexible platform that can adapt to all of that is key to driving those major benefits for a customer.